everybody, and welcome to Market Moves. I'm Jason, the Wizard of Ops, and with me, as always, is Jay, aka Dark Matter. Jay, what's going on?
Hey Wiz, I'm doing well. How's your weekend? How's the week? Glad to be back. I was on some travel last week, so thank you for filling
Yeah,
in the shoes of Jay. So appreciate it.
yeah, you left me out in the cold and alone last week, but it seemed like it went all right. So, all right, let's get rolling because this week is a busy one, right? Um,
Yeah,
yeah, so let's hear what you got, what your outlook is, and what your plan is, and then I'll interject as needed.
yeah, definitely. So obviously, geopolitical events still round out our macro picture. So just I'm going to toss that out, keep that in mind here. But this week's set least plan catalyst for the week, we have FOMC, and then OPEX is this week as well. So expect a lot of turbulence. It will not be a smooth coasting kind of week. Take profits, lock your P&L in. But we also have just a couple of other events here just to call out, not to say that they will direct a certain outcome, but you should be aware of them. PPI comes out on Wednesday as well, and then we have the BOJ press conference on Thursday as well. Outside of that, you've got your just basic, Europe will go through their monetary policy statement on Thursday as well. You have some new home sales Thursday. And then we do have unemployment claims on Thursday as well. But outside of that, we do have earnings. One big one would be Micron. How is the semiconductor market still doing? So keep an eye on that one. And then you just have a lot of consumer related stocks here, Lululemon, Macy's, Williams Sonoma as examples that I am just always curious to see, and FedEx being one of those as well. Your thoughts, Wiz?
Well, Micron is very interesting because semiconductors use a lot of natural gas to help with their production, and right now, as you know, a lot of natural gas comes from Qatar, and Qatar can't do anything with it right now. So because of the macroeconomic environment. So I expect actually Micron, that's going to be the most interesting for me. Alibaba also on the retail side because China has a lot more people than America, so you might want to pay attention to that retail side too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, overall for me, I think Micron is the most interesting as far as how the semiconductor whole industry is handling the closing slash somewhat closing of the Strait of Hormuz. So yeah. Also, did you mention OPEX before? You said about FOMC as a catalyst. I don't know if you talked. This is OPEX week. Happy OPEX.
Yeah.
Happy Volex week. Yay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely mention it. But to your point, the call out there is a lot of turbulence, right? So this is not swing trading territory still, in my opinion, here, or at least a clear directional flow besides going down, in my opinion. But yes, OPEX week does lead our catalyst this week.
I think the biggest issue with OPEX week this time is number one, FOMC is in the same week, and FOMC can jar your OPEX, can jar our OPEX outlook really fast. I mean, even when you have Volland, if FOMC comes in extraordinarily bullish or bearish, then it can change your outlook really fast. So you have to be very nimble, and you have to also plan for this. In addition to FOMC, though, you also have the BOJ issues, right? Or whatever they're going to do. They've been thinking about hiking, or I think now they're not hiking, but that changes by the minute. And then Iran, because any kind of headline that's been coming out of Iran has moved the market quite a bit. But we'll see why in a little bit when we go look at Volland. But that's kind of, and so when you have an expiration with a lot of positioning in it, and you have fundamental catalysts that can change that, change how that will be hedged, like on the drop of a dime. you have to be nimble. So
Yeah, you nailed it. Be nimble, be ready for this week, and let's
or
jump
be out.
out. Just watch. Yes,
Yeah.
preservation is not a bad thing, right? Uh, Go earn your 4% or 3, whatever it is nowadays, the market rate for your cash. Definitely. So let's jump in. Volatility still, we're looking at about a 24 VIX future handle. 18, 20, that kind of zone continues to hold. Like that is low volatility in this market. So keep that in mind as you're trading. But let's just jump right into Volland here, Wiz. So coming into last night's trade plan, I had 66.25 as the immediate kind of intraday pivot here for us. That would then push price up to 66.65. And then we would go on to test 6,700. So far, we've had exactly those three things occur here. Now, the upside going above 6,700 becomes pretty interesting here, and we'll get into the Volland data, but there is quite a bit of resistance at that, or I should say negative gamma, not resistance, my bad, that we need to look at, that needs to be accounted for. But as we come into that level there, you're going to get a lot of ambiguity in the market at that level, in my opinion. That's going to be the first area this morning here that I'll look into. And potentially, does that create a sell-off, pushing us back down? Or do we continue to rise up to 67.25? So let's jump in, look at the data. But is there anything you wanted to share while I pull that up?
Yeah, sure. I mean, while we're looking at the data, there's something last week as we were kind of going down on Thursday and Friday, we actually undervixed. One of the things that I was saying is if we drop, the thing I'm looking for to be, very strongly bullish is we need to hit a vol event, right? We did hit a vol event, got up to 68.50. I know my target for the end of the, my first target was 6,900 for the month, but 68.50 was the most we could get after that vol event. And then Iran war headlines kind of started shaking the market up. So I find it very interesting that despite the war and despite all the catalysts this week, as the market came down, VIX didn't correlate that much. And in fact, spot vol correlation dropped quite a few, it dropped to 0.47. So it's kind of a strange market now. And now we're under VIXing again on this rise by, negative 1.29. So, yeah, I'm pretty cautious that people are not accounting for all of the catalysts and Iran enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite interesting. You mentioned that last week's under VIXing, and then even today, like this is just we have about a 1% move in NDS in the futures market, and you're almost at an under VIXing moment here already.
Yeah.
And we barely teetered at a key critical level, right? So I'm with you, and again, the correlations don't lie, right? It seems like the market won't suffice our volatility under over VIXing or under VIXing numbers that we wish before the close. But hey, this is a great indicator. This is why I love this widget as well, Wiz. It's just, it helps guide us intraday too. It's a huge benefit. But let's jump into talking about volatility. Let's look at Vanna here. So kind of looking, if we look at this, just there's not a lot of support here, right? There's, we've got 6,600 here to the upside, and even 66.25, which we talked about earlier here. That pivot held overnight. We were a few points shy of this overnight, actually near the open. So far your lower extremes have held, and now it's how far do we get up to the upside here, and where do we push? So I'm with you. See volatility increase. These swings are going to be massive in size. And so if you are caught off position, meaning, hey, you decided to go long the market now and it decides to sell, there's not a lot of support holding that selling up, right? So I'll quickly pause, but your thoughts here was.
Yeah, and not only that, but that 6600 expires this week. So and once that's gone, once you start looking beyond this week, you don't get any you get very small support until you get to 6500. I think this high VIX environment, but an unwillingness to actually buy puts is creating a pretty large vacuum beneath us. That being said, though, it's hard to trade because aggregate Vanna is so positive. We have the JPM strike still has an impact out there. It's at 77 or 7,005 or something like that. I mean, so if Iran ends or there's a surrender or whatever, like if there's a headline that looks like that, we could shoot up pretty fast. And so it's very difficult to trade. It's almost like you have to trade the extremes only. And when you trade the extreme, especially if it's like a higher end extreme, you have to hedge on the positive side, because if that one headline comes out like fighting is over, or mission accomplished or something like that, we're gonna 7,000 is gonna be in range.
Yeah,
that's days.
No, I'm glad you called that out, because this is all a game of volatility, in my opinion, and I'm with you there, Wiz. And if you can, as I said, to be right now the VIX futures at about 24. I think you can get down to 20. You're gonna even get a minor push up, right? 6,800 is not without reach. So I'm with you. Keep an eye on that volatility there. Use your Vanna levels, and then what I kind of want to bring up here now is gamma. This is what kind of interested me overnight, was just seeing how much we're in negative gamma, essentially, right? So an accelerant to moves either to the upside or to the downside. And so we are coming, or have tagged in futures here already, 6,700 negative gamma. You can see down here, we've got 6,600 negative gamma and a little bit of positive gamma here at 6,625. But this continues to show, volatility and whipsaw action is still, below us here, unless we take 6,700. And then you do have some towers here, even above spot at 6,750 and 6,800. But it gets us back into positive game if that volatility compresses. But your thoughts here was?
Yeah, so that's why I was kind of saying you got to be careful below, because Iran is causing economic uncertainty and people are trading it. This isn't, it isn't like we are, dealers probably have a little bit less of an impact than the headline traders from Iran. So right now our edge, we kind of have to look at what customers are positioning as, what the possible headlines are, and you have to trade for that. And you kind of see your level to level, as you like to do your level to level trading, you see where that is. If Iran, hits an American ship or something like that, and we go down, and we could go down to, we could go down pretty far. I would start looking at these little positive knobs, right, to see how they react. If it's just a little bit, slows down a little bit, I'm talking about like below.
Here.
Yeah, 60. Like there, or that one that's in the middle of nowhere. Like these little positive knobs to kind of just see how it'll react. But yeah, like for now, you definitely have to apply less risk than normal, at least until you get back into that positive gamma territory where you could start maybe going a little bit short gamma. That's where I would start going short vol, is in those positive gamma areas. But right now, long vol, pot shot, lottos is all I would do.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you. And I think even if you look at like the weekly gamma profile here, I mean, look how much more protruding 6,700 here it looks on the week. Mm-hmm. And then you still have your pockets here, as you mentioned, right? So 6880 as an example. We already talked about 66,665. Yeah, 66,65. There's a lot of sixes there. So you can kind of see these, big levels. And so far overnight, we held a few of these critical ones. So watch today how they react. if there is a breakdown of them, as we've said, there's just not a lot of supports. If you do get a VIX that pops, you get a little bit of volatility here. Your long that you entered at 6,700 is not going to look so safe, even if you bought a week's timeout, right? They are going to grind and grind away at those premiums this week. So please keep that in mind as you are trading.
Yeah. All those here, if you go back a little bit,
Yeah.
all that positive gamma two below, that's probably where I would start expecting a little bit of vol events. No, like even further, like down where,
Down here, yeah, 65.
That's where you could start expecting the massive vol events, because those are the premium sellers, and they will panic and buy them back if they're showing like major negative. The customer side will probably start hedging via negative futures and stuff like that. So yeah, I think if we pass that last what is that? I can't even see it on your screen.
6,400 here.
600, I guess. No, it's not 6,600. 66, like 25.
Oh, this one here, yeah, 66.
If we pass that, that would be where I'd start looking for a vol event. You said we held it overnight. That's where I'd start looking for a vol event. Is if we pass that, then where it'd be in trouble. But I mean, trouble if you're long, or for the American economy, whatever, however you want to view it.
Price will go down. How about that?
Yeah, the market will go down, but then I would be hoping to see some large positive gamma if we do pass that. So, or some large positive over VIXing if we do pass that. So yeah, that's my outlook. For the record, right now, I am completely flat. I have not touched anything yet. It's a little bit, but I'll take these little long gamma pot shots if we hit some of these levels. Maybe 1 week, maybe a day. We'll see. But that's all I'm willing to do right now.
Yeah, I mean, my 26 theme continues to hold here, level to level. Find a good trade, get enough points, you go out, right? You stay ahead of that way. That's so far worked for me this year.
Good.
All right. While you're looking, if we have any questions here, again, we're kind of at a critical point here in terms of our next pivot to 6,700. I would just be on the lookout for any failed breakouts, right? So 66.65, 66.50, you start to see those levels go, you will see 66.25 get traded again. And I wouldn't even be shocked if 6,600 comes. Just a matter of when, in my opinion, not a matter of if. So that's kind of in terms of the scenarios and what I'm looking at. And if we break that 6,600, you get down to 65.75 as your next level of acceptance. And I know there were a few, if I go back here to Volland for just a second, it was quite interesting. Yeah, they're still here. You have these on the charm, these at the very end of the tail, these 65, 30, and 40 strikes that stood out for me. So, again, if that selling happens, it's going to come fast, it's going to come quick. And if there's some catalyst behind it, it will rip through even on an intraday basis. So just keep that in mind. So we're healthy here so far, just to call it out. But you see that volatility increase, right? That's not something you want to get in the way of.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, though, right now, vol has under-vixed quite a bit. And usually when that happens, it's because there's preparations for Volex happening on Wednesday. I think that the end of Volex can release a lot of those volatility hedges. So for me, it's, I probably could trade it, I guess, but right now I'm stepping back, letting things evolve. And then, it's safer to trade after all this stuff happens, not before.
Yeah. And just some levels above spot there, 67.50. If you get above 6,700, That will be an area that will need to be dealt with. And then you got up to 67.25 and then 50 as well there. So anything you want to share on zero DT delta decay here as well?
That doesn't look bullish.
That's what I was just going to say.
Doesn't look bullish. I think like probably we will pop a little bit in the beginning because of that 66.40. The delta decay is going to be sped up pretty fast by that negative charm. I think if you're trading intraday, you actually do have a plan. The pop, will probably take us up to 6,700, maybe a little higher, and that'd be a pop to sell.
Yeah, I'm with you.
At least initially. That's my thought.
Yeah, I definitely look at how positioning changes, but it is OPEX week. It's going to change quite often. So you got to look at those mean reversion like levels, above 6,700 and, overnight it was 6,600. So I would not trade long if we go revisit 6,600. So just FYI.
Yeah. I've also seen a little bit of people speculating that after OPEX, will we have like a COVID type drop, right? Overall, actually, I think that the table is set for something like that because we've been under VIXing so much. Volatility has been removed from the market. It could even start like on Wednesday. You could start seeing tremors after Volex. It is a possibility. I don't, and it's also a reason why I'd step out because we are positive Vanna. But so that's the other thing is that there's possibilities out there that are pretty scary. I think I would start to look a little bit longer at around the 6,500 kind of area after this week. But yeah, I mean, if we keep under VIXing, that's and our spot vol correlations keep dropping. Our skew is not, even though it's high, it's not high enough. We need to, skew needs to be priced in a little bit more. And yeah, so I'm looking at these levels for kind of going long, but there's such a dichotomy because if there's even a hint of a positive, if there's even a hint of a positive headline, we're going to shoot up. So, there's that one, people have talked, I've spoken to people before and I said, usually when I put on a trade, I think, what is the one risk I'm willing to accept? I don't have one right now. So
yeah,
that's why I'm out. Like, am I willing to accept a massive pop as a risk? If we have a massive pop, I lose money. Am I willing to take that? No, that could happen. If there's a massive drop, am I willing to take that risk? No, that could happen. And then if we move nowhere, right? I think that probably be the most likely risk that I'd be willing to accept is we are not at 6,700 at the end of the week, but those are usually negative EV trades. And I'm not even willing to accept that because we could whipsaw and end up at 6,700 at the end of the week. So, yeah, I mean, you have to be very nimble trading right now. And honestly, a lot of times I say, I feel bad for you zero DTE people. You zero DTE people probably have a better advantage than us swing traders right now.
That's what I was just going to say. I think zero DT is faring a little bit better, especially when we have Volland backing us up. So that's the key.
Yep.
All right. So again, just to recap, just to go through our key levels here, we talked about. So, I would look at this range here between 6,700 and 6,725. That's where I think at least intraday, you're going to start to see some sellers if we haven't already seen them here in the market come out. But you could quickly see that potential upside, but I see it getting tested. So that's just what I am looking at in the data right now. And then I think to the lower end, my downside extension for just this week, if we do test it, which I think there's a high chance of it could go to 6,500. And I think one of my thesis there is, especially if FOMC, there's lesser rate cuts this year, market was expecting this many, but they come out and say, hey, we're pausing. it's going to get very interesting very quickly on the week. So watch Wednesday. That will be the most turbulent day of the week, in my opinion. Any
Yeah, I'm
final thoughts
actually
on your
curious.
end?
This is also the first FOMC meeting where Jerome Powell is a lame duck. There's, I don't know what that other guy's going to say, and
Good point.
but I don't really know what he's going to say and do. So it's another reason to be nimble around FOMC.
Well, I think what's interesting about the new Fed chair is he's supposed to be, very anti-inflation, and he doesn't want to cut rates where inflation is going up potentially. But now the thought of if there's stagflation, you now have this war. He's coming in. Like, what if he just comes in and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not cutting rates either." That doesn't really help Donald Trump's positioning. President Trump's positioning doesn't help kind of what the market was expecting for this year. So there could be a lot of fireworks Wednesday.
Well, yeah, but the big thing I think with God, what's his name? His name is slipping in my head right now. But anyway, the big thing for him was the balance sheet. And I think, like, in the interview, if he said like the Kevin Warsh, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
Which, how many times are we going to say Walsh instead of Warsh? Maybe he just liked the last name War. He's very Warsh. But anyway, he probably came in and said, "Yeah, I'll cut rates." He'll come in, cut a rate, but then decrease the the balance sheet so much that it hurts the market. Be like, "Hey, I didn't lie," right?
It's very true.
I mean, that's kind of the that's my kind of fear of what well, not maybe not fear, because I think Kevin Warsh will, he will care about his legacy. I mean, this guy apparently has been working really hard to become a Fed chair. So yeah, that's where I think we could be headed.
I agree.
With FOMC. And what will Kevin say? The other thing too is, now what am I? I have JPOW as my shortening. What am I going to do? K-War, K-War Demon Hunters. That's what I'll say.
Just go K-Dog. Right. K-Dog. He's K-Dog.
K-Dog. All right. Trading guys is, how do we use Volland to trade oil nowadays? USO, for example. You could look at USO. I have in the past, but you have to know that there are, oil is a lot more macro based. And I would also keep an eye on the futures. We are going to be releasing futures, soon. Can't tell you when. We still are like going through how to process that data. But yeah, I think like oil is, I think it takes a little while at this point for all the macro concerns to be relaxed about the whole Strait of Hormuz thing. And so, that to me is the biggest catalyst right now with oil, and it's all macro based. So Volland, I would just kind of look at it as how are customers positioned, and that will give you an idea of what people that probably know more than us are looking at. So, all right. Huge asked about any zero DTE outlook. We already kind of talked about it a little bit. And then, yeah, and Amir talked about it. VIX tanks. Can't we just continue to get a rally? Yes-ish. I mean, VIX has been tanking kind of, VIX has been under control quite a bit. I think the way VIX has acted recently, it has opened the trap door below. And that's, we've been dropping and under VIXing. So we haven't really gotten enough juice in the VIX to pop us for further rallies. So,
well, and I think you nailed this. Like, we just haven't over VIX to create that put support, as you mentioned, right? So when you see those two conditions, usually at least there's a bounce incoming, and we just have not seen that yet.
Right. All right, so it's 9:15. Thank you everybody for watching, and may Volland help you in your future trading ventures.